Hi, my name is Jay. Your name is?
Frank.
How are you doing, Frank?
Pretty well.
We're up here today on Mount Helix in La Mesa, California. We're asking the big question to people. What do you think happens after you die? Your eyes go closed, and what happens next? Something or nothing? And what is that something if you believe something happens?
I believe it's all irrelevant.
It's all irrelevant?
It doesn't matter what happens afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing that really matters is like right now in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as far as whether there's an afterlife or not, doesn't matter. Because the only thing that matters at this particular moment is what do you do for those around you.
Mm-hmm.
So whether there's an existence of a God or not, or something else beyond that, it wouldn't necessarily, I guess, be directly correlated to being here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you believe in a right and wrong? Do you think there's right things in this life and wrong things in this life to do?
Not necessarily. It's more relative.
It's all relative. So, for example, if you walked into the store and stole something, would that be right or wrong?
Well, what's the situation?
Okay, you're just going in there to, I don't know, you need a new watch. So you go in there and you steal a watch.
What would be the purpose for getting the watch? Is it because you're hungry at home?
No, it's shiny. It's something that's a cool thing. A lot of your friends have it.
So whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. I think that's kind of a poised question.
Hmm?
I think it's poised question because, like, in many ways, like, all right, so you go in there and you steal something. Well, what's the purpose behind it? So if you don't have the purpose behind it, and just for the sake of doing it, you can't really answer it unless you have a reason behind it.
The reason behind it. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's
There should be some
so
motive or drive behind
okay,
doing
if
it.
I walk up to somebody and then shoot him with a gun, is that right or wrong?
Again, like,
That's
what's
it.
the motive behind it?
I'm just, you know what? He's made me mad, and I'm gonna go take him out.
Well, did he make you mad because he slept with your wife? Did he kill your brother?
Okay. Well, let's say he slept with my wife.
Okay. Do you trust her? That's the next question. Do you trust her? So, yeah, I guess in many ways, it would be relative, like, to what the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as actually whether there's right or wrong for doing something, you have to have a motive behind it. And once you figure out the motive, then you can figure out whether or not it's actually right or wrong
Mm-hmm.
within the situation.
Okay. So, if you have in that same situation, you shoot the person, then you're arrested and you're brought to jail, and you go before a judge.
hmm
Is that judge going to determine whether it was right or wrong that you shot that person?
Well, it's not necessarily. First of all, you do establish that you did shoot the person, and then after that,
You was-
within the context, like,
Mhm.
of what was going on, what the appropriate judgment would be.
Okay, so you did it, and so the judge has got to make a decision whether it's right or wrong. And he's got all the clear indications, all the proof, and everything you did it, and he determines either it's right or wrong, right? That's our court system, right?
Essentially, but it should be done by a jury of your peers too. So
Okay,
essentially,
so
he says yes or no.
So the jury also says the same thing. It's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our typical system that we're in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, before we go into the conversation any further, my wife and I were Christians. So what we believe is that there is a right and wrong in this life, and it's where our eternity lies. We're determined what path we decide to go down, whether it's a wrong path and stay on that wrong path, or it's the right path, and we try to stay on that right path the best we can. And so, have you ever heard of the gospel message of the Bible? Have you ever heard it?
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of religious background at all, or got a
Yeah.
church or anything?
Yeah, I used to have a religious background. I kind of not necessarily distanced from it. I just had some events going on that, in many ways, there's more than one perspective to view life, and whether you always believe it to be an altruistic, I guess, definite right or wrong, regardless of the situation, I don't necessarily believe that. So, like I said before, it's very much relative to what's going on around you.
So, do you think you're a good person overall?
Irrelevant.
But do you
I'm
think
a
you are?
person.
Are you a good guy? Do you treat people good and try to treat people like you'd want to be treated?
Yes, I do treat people the way I want to be treated.
Okay. Let me give you what's called the good person test real quick, okay? Have you ever told a lie in your life?
Of course.
So what does the world call people that lie?
The world.
Usually. What's the name they usually give them?
Um,
So if I lied to you on a regular basis, what would we call me?
what's the purpose behind you lying to me?
Well, let's say that you harm.
There's like a
Let's say I did you
habitual
harm.
liar, just
Yeah,
saying
just like, I just came up to you and, hey, I told you lie after lie each day, and just kind of, and it upset you quite often. So what would the label that the world would usually relate with that form of acting?
Personally, I probably would avoid you if you went and kept lying to me, because I wouldn't really want to hang out with you.
The name of a liar, right? Usually they call him a liar.
Yeah, but then I'd kind of ask, like, why are you lying? Like, what's the purpose behind that? Did something happen to you before? Like, is there a trust issue? Is there, like, a self-awareness, or maybe something about yourself that you're not comfortable sharing, and maybe that's the way that you go ahead and go about your day.
Have you ever stolen anything in your life? Taken something without permission?
Lots of candies and cookies.
Okay. Have you ever looked lustfully on a woman before?
That's, again, within the context of what you're asking. Lustfully, I think it's more of like a physical attraction, definitely something that goes on within your own brain chemistry that defines whether or not you find something.
Just thinking it. It's kind of up there, and you see them walking down the street, and you're just kind of, well, you don't know if they're married or what, and you just kind of go, wow, geez, if I could, I would.
Of course,
Ever
it's
had that
all
thought?
relative. Every man has that thought. Every man on earth has that thought. Every woman on earth has that thought about another individual as well.
Okay.
So it's not like whether or not you've had it. It's like, yeah, of course I've had it.
Sure. So, like I said, we're Christians, and we believe in the Bible. And in the Bible, Jesus said that is adultery in your heart. So if you think those things, that's adultery. You're just kind of, it's a sin, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. These are all sins that are contained in the Bible. So we believe as Christians, after this life ends, we're going to come up before Jesus, and He's going to judge us for the things they've done in this life. So He's seen it all. He's seen all our stuff, all our secret stuff, everything. So based on the sins He told me you've just done, you come up before that point. And if there's a heaven and a hell, do you think He's going to send you? Where do you think He's going to send you, heaven or hell?
You just asked a very loaded question.
Uh-huh.
You asked so many points of views in there. First of all, you have to establish whether or not they're actually...
No, I'm just saying if. I said if, right?
All right, so according to your world, whether or not there would be something definite beyond the afterlife, where there is a clear and blatant line between that of the spiritual and the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're assuming your spirit itself is going to be, I guess, transcended from the physical to that of the spiritual world. And then, are those sins, as you put it, are they directly correlated to your physical body? Or is it correlated to your mind? Or how is it established? Because first of all, you have the fact that there's actually sins being present. And do those sins stay in the physical realm? Or do they actually transcend to the spiritual realm?
Well, when we're judged, we're going to come up before God, and He's gonna go over the things that you've done in your life, and then He's going to send you either to hell, away from Him, into a place where you're going to feel pain. Actually, in the book of Luke, it's actually described in the book of Luke as a place where you're going to feel pain, essentially forever.
So is that physical or is that spiritual pain?
Well, I think it's both. You're gonna actually, it describes it as something you're gonna actually feel.
Okay, so there's a lot of things you just asked right there too.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So
where do you think you're gonna go?
Like I said,
if there is a heaven or hell, where do you think you're gonna go based on the sins you just told me?
Based on the sins that I just said, so
the lusting, if it's all right, in my way, and a lot of people agree with that way,
yeah,
and
that's
there's
fine,
a lot of
fine.
proof to back that up.
Okay. Where do you think David's going?
Huh?
Where do you think King David's going?
Well, that's those are stories that are in the Bible that are true, that happened, and but he had a God was with him, and there's reasons why he sinned, but
You
he
believe that
also
happens now?
yeah, sure, I believe that
Okay.
we have sinned now. I've sinned plenty of times, plenty of times. I've lusted, I've lied, I've done all that stuff. Okay, I'm not any better than we all have a sin condition. So, based on where are you going? Let's get back to the question. I mean, it's just one of those things, right?
No, you're asking, I guess.
Well, you could.
No, I understand what you're asking. At the
Yeah.
same time, I'm just gonna say it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant
irrelevant.
that so you don't believe in either one, essentially.
Yeah, I don't believe in either one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Well, that's okay. I'm just just ask you that question. Just check yourself. A lot of people tell us that, and then the next thing we tell you is you don't have to go. They tell me usually hell, a lot of times, or they'll say I'm going to go to heaven because I'm a good person. They wouldn't let me go to that place because I've done more right than I've done wrong. Those are the types of answers I get to that.
Check and balance the system.
Yeah. So then I tell them, you don't have to go there.
Yeah.
Jesus has given us a way to get to heaven, and all we got to do is trust and believe in that. He knows he lived this life. He knows the temptations we go through in this life, and he's given us a way out. He got up on a cross, and he took all of our sin, past, present, and future, upon himself. And he said he died, and then he rose again after 3 days.
Is that enough? Is that enough?
Well, that's his plan. That's what he's revealed to us. And you got to trust, and believe in that. You got to be willing to turn away from your sinful lifestyle. Repent.
Is death enough? I don't know. Jesus Christ, is that enough?
What do you mean? Is that enough?
Like just his death, was that enough
For what?
for all of humanity's, for all their sins?
He is he's the creator of all this.
Okay.
Okay. He's God in the physical form that came to this world. He lived life, and that we're all having to live now, and so he understands what we're going through. Okay, and he just gave us a way. So is it difficult to want to believe that? What's the worst thing that can happen believing that?
Worst thing that can happen? I don't know, I think it was the Crusades, wasn't it? Wasn't that like a religious fight for a certain belief and philosophy across that time?
there were sinners back then too.
Yeah, that was that's not like a small sin. I just stole a piece of candy. No, I actually sent armies out to actually.
Yeah. Those are decisions that men made, and that had a sin nature also.
Yeah.
That's not Jesus that got out in front of them going, "Hey, let's do this fight. Let's do these crusades. Let's do them right now."
That sounds more like Old Testament. So, I'm sorry. What was your question again? Or what's the biggest inhibition from actually believing?
Yeah. What's holding you back from that? What is the worst thing that can happen if you believe that? What's the worst thing that happen?
You die and nothing really exists afterwards.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
Well, the best thing would be what?
The best thing would, of course, would be your answer. Whether or not I go to heaven or hell.
Yeah, you go to heaven for eternity, and you no more pain, and.
So what is the criteria then?
All the criteria is all you got to do is you got to do one thing. It's like you admit that you've done things wrong in this life, and ask for forgiveness for the stuff that you've done. You're sorry for doing it.
What's the limit that you put that at? Is it a child? Is it an adult? At what point must that individual admit that?
Well, the earlier they do it in life, because what happens once you do that, Jesus Christ is God, and His Holy Spirit will come upon you and help you through the rest of this life. He'll guide you to making those right decisions, guide you to do the things He wants you to do in this life. He has a purpose for your life. And my wife and I. Okay, yeah, my wife and I have had things happen in our life that we know God's been involved in. Like right now, I know I'm sitting here right now because I came at this time, this day, to meet you here. I know that for a fact. I've done this enough times, and I've talked to enough people, and I've heard enough things that I'm sold on that now. You would be amazed at the stuff I've heard, okay, and seen, okay. I'll give you a crazy example, and this just happened yesterday, okay.
What's up?
All right, I came up one day, and we interviewed a couple up here, and I'm in the retirement home business, and at the time we were thinking about hiring a nurse practitioner, and we were thinking about it. We were in the process of planning it and doing it. I come up here and interview somebody, and the only interview I did the whole day, I run into a nurse practitioner and her husband up here, and we talk. So I was like, wow. We got to know them a little bit, and we actually started to, we developed a friendship. So yesterday, we're out with them, and we're talking to them. We start talking about, just, life and where we've been in life and what we've done, where we've lived and that kind of thing. And I found out her husband used to live in the home that I lived in as a child in El Cajon. That's one example. Okay, this happened. I'm not sure it was some other stuff here, but God's working all the time. He's just, it's just the way He works and different things. And sometimes we get those kind of aha moments in our life that occur. But that was one of them for us, just as recent as yesterday, that happened. I mean, the odds of that is about 1 billion to 1. That I meet a person up. I meet a person up here on this mountain.
Looking for a nurse practitioner. Happened to be one.
It happened to be the nurse practitioner. Develop a friendship, and all of a sudden I learned that he grew up. He lived in the house that I lived in as a child. That I spent about 4 or 5 years of my life as a child. Yeah, it's kind of it's one of those things that kind of make you think. Anyway, he's a Christian also. Both they were actually Christians that we spoke with, and it turned out to be a real good. Turn this thing off. So that was something that was recent. But another thing I want to tell you about real quick is a trial that happened in our life. Being a Christian doesn't mean bad things won't happen. As long as we live in this life, things are going to happen in this life. On November 6th of 2007, we lost our 18-year-old son in a car accident. We lost him suddenly. We didn't get to say goodbye. It just happened. Boom. It's kind of one of those things. When I go out to talk to people, that's one of the reasons I say you need to accept Christ early. You don't want to put it off because you don't know when your last moment's going to be. He didn't know that's going to be his last moment. He just graduated from Steel Canyon High School over here, where he was an AP Calculus student. He was a cross-country runner since the age of 10. He won races all over California, great runner. Just started up at Mesa College, he was on their cross-country team there. And it was right after the 2007 wildfires. He jumped into a car. He was used to a 4-cylinder Jeep. He got into an Acura Integra, and he was running late for a class, and he sped up the 94 West Freeway over here. It's right over here. You can see it on the side of here. And the unusual part is he lost his life in the backyard of that house. That cross and that roof there was there many years before my son's accident. These are his skid marks that are right here. There used to be a tree here. He hit the tree, split his car in half, ripped him out of the seatbelt, and he landed in the backyard of this house, perfectly positioned looking up at the cross. This is a dry road day. He was in his shorts, his t-shirt, and some running shoes that he just got from a shoe company the night before he sponsored him to wear them. So that was a trial. Do we think my son accepted Christ into his life before that happened? Yeah, we do. But we won't know for sure till one day we pray we see him in heaven. But another thing that happened after that, my wife and I were mentors. We take kids from the county out, and we do camping with them, we bike ride with them, and that kind of thing. My son was very active in that when he was alive as well. Well, my son was also a donor. He donated his body to an organization called LifeShare. Well, one day we got a letter from somebody that got my son's ligament in his arm. he was a baseball pitcher and threw out his arm, and he had to have Tommy John surgery. He sent us a letter, and here's the letter. This is actually the newspaper article here, Union Tribune. Can you read that letter real quick to the viewing audience? To everybody, can you read out loud?
Yes, I can read it.
Okay.
The letter says, "Dear donor family, my name is Blake. I am writing to your family to express my sincere empathy and your loss of a family member. I am deeply sorry for your family, and I'm praying that God may guide you in this time. I'm also writing to your family in great respect and gratitude for your family decision to donate this special gift. The transplant I received and the scarring that has taken place due to the surgery will serve as a reminder of your family and especially your loved one. I am greatly privileged and thankful for my opportunity, which will be empowered by your loved one as he or she has enabled me to be healthy again. I thought I would share with you a brief history of who I am and what the surgery has allowed me to do. I'm an 18-year-old boy who has just graduated from Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. I will be attending Santa Clara University in the fall. I am the oldest child and have one brother and two sisters. My brother is 17, my sister 16, and my little sister 12. Growing up as a child full of energy and love for athletics, I played hockey, baseball, football, soccer, and baseball. When I got to high school, a lot of these things started to change or not go the way I had hoped for. To make a long story short, I ended up lettering in football and baseball. I had many ups and downs in football, such as losing the quarterback job to phenom Matt Barkley, after being a starting quarterback my freshman and sophomore year for the freshman team and the sophomore JV team.
Matt's actually the starting quarterback at USC this year.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
However, I ended up playing receiver for our varsity team my senior year and gained many life lessons along the way. In baseball, my sophomore year on varsity, I hurt my arm pitching. My junior year, I did the exact same thing. After that season, I got an MRI and found out my ulnar collateral ligament, also known as Tommy John ligament, was torn. I ended up playing third base for my team my senior year, however, and we had a remarkable season that again brought many ups and downs, but many life lessons as well. I am honored to let you know that the transplant your family has so generously donated has replaced my damaged elbow ligament in my arm through my surgery, commonly referred to as Tommy John surgery. I am currently still in stitches and in a brace and have started my rehabilitation process that will take approximately 1 year. I have hopes to play baseball and pitch for Santa Clara University. I will redshirt my first years due to my injury and rehab, but will then resume my baseball activity my second year there. I am again very grateful for your family and hope to fulfill my dreams of pitching out of respect for your loved one. I will never forget your family or your loved one as he or she is in a better place. I hope to keep in contact with your family and cannot be thankful enough for what the surgery is going to enable me to do. Thank you again, and may God bless your family.
Okay.
You are in my prayers and in my heart. Thank you.
Okay. So he left
Like-
his, he left his,
yeah,
he left
it's
his
okay.
phone number down at the bottom. We crossed that out. But so my wife got on her cell phone and we got that letter and called him, and we didn't get him on his cell phone. We got his voicemail. So we left him a voicemail, and we thought we'd hear something back. We didn't. We didn't hear anything back for months and months. Well, one day we were taking our foster youth mentee, who was at that time 18 years old. He just turned 18. We'd known him since he was 11. And we were taking him on a bike ride to Coronado. And we're all three together in the car. And we were actually driving on the freeway right here on the 94 freeway. We lived in Hamul at the time. We're right in front of this house, and my wife's cell phone rings. Who do you think's calling us for the very first time? It's actually talking to him. Blake.
Yeah.
We were all shocked that he's calling us right in front of the house. So we decided to have dinner with him and his mom. We had dinner with them up at the Acclaimed Ripper restaurant up in Oceanside. We all sat down to eat, and Blake started asking us questions. And he said, what kind of car did Devin die in? My son's name was Devin. And we told him it was an Acura Integra and the model and everything. And he looks at us funny and he says, I drive that same car. And then we find out his mom is a CASA, which are like foster youth mentors. They take kids from the county out and shop with them, that kind of thing. So all this stuff was hooking up right and left, And again, God's working in our life all the time. So some instances that just kind of make you think. It's things that have occurred in our testimony in our life where we feel God's actively involved in things going on. Another thing that happened. When we were learning how to evangelize like we're doing right now, me and another family that we do this with, went to a evangelism training course that Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron. You know who Kirk Cameron is? He does the Fireproof movie and the Growing Pains and everything for years. He's an evangelist who goes all over the world training people how to evangelize. Well, he was here at East Lake Calvary Church and to do a session. It was about a 3-hour session. We all watched that. About halfway through it, there was about 2,000 people there. They gave us all a break to go, to go meet the trainers. So everybody jumped into the actor's line, Kirk's line, in a real long line. I said, you know what? We're not going to be able to meet him. So we shot off and we went to meet one of the other trainers. And her name was Trish Ramos. Never met her before in my life. She goes around with Kirk and Ray and everywhere. And she actually lives in Texas. And we sit down with I walk up to her and she hands me this card. Never met her before in my life. She hands me that card right there. So if you'd lost an 18-year-old son and a total stranger that you haven't met before hands you a card like that, just pulls it out of her purse and hands you that, what might you be thinking? We'll stay in the front first. I want to tell you this little story about it. So she looks at me, she sees me looking at it kind of funny, and she goes, Jay, don't turn it over to the back of the card until you've answered the question at the top of that card. What is the answer? What do you think the answer to that question is?
Sorry, I'm still grappling the IQ test. How is this an IQ test?
What is the most important part of this headstone?
The lower part.
Yeah, so I was pretty
Dearly
stunned
loved.
that it actually said dearly loved son or daughter. It could have said husband, wife, Mary, Jane, whatever. And I was like, oh, what it says son here. How does she know I lost a son? Anyway, I flipped it over to the back, the card, and if you could read like the first few lines there, it's kind of faded there because it's stuck together on the card, but can you read the first few lines there?
The card itself says the most important part. Oh, here,
Yep.
the card it says the most important part of the dash is between the two dates. It represents all the days of one's life. The Bible tells us that life is like a vapor.
Okay, so I said, Trish, I was real stunned because I lost a son and everything, told the story. I said, but I flipped over to the back of the card and I read that back of that card. It really threw me back. Because my son's funeral bulletin, there's something very similar on the back of that card in my son's funeral bulletin. Do you see what's similar on my son's funeral bulletin and the back of that card?
Where is it at? Where are you wanting me to look?
This is the whole thing right here.
The whole thing right
Yeah,
there. Okay.
right here. Read the first few lines of that poem there. This is on the funeral bulletin.
Okay.
I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates of her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted the first came the date of her birth and spoke of the following date with tears, but he said what mattered most of all was a dash between those years. So these are, again, some things that have happened in our life where we know God's working. He wants us all there. I mean, what better thought in my mind to be in a place where I'm going to be happy forever. I mean, rather than being down here, geez, where it's up and down and sideways all the time, to have a thought, oh wow, that's a great plan. And a lot of people don't want to grab onto that, but I said, you know what, there's got to be a creator to all this. We're just, think about our bodies. Your body is real complicated. Your eyes, everything in your eye has to work together simultaneously just to be able to see. Your nerves, your blood, your involuntary actions in your body that happen just your eyes blink, you sweat, whatever it may be. All those little things that are made up. A lot of design in there, just everywhere. There's a lot of design in this world. I mean, everything that has an order in life, like that camera over there. Would you agree somebody designed that, created that camera? You may not have seen him do it, but do you agree that somebody designed it and created it?
It's not living.
Yeah, but
It's not moving.
that cross. That's on and on and on. Now we go to your clothes, your clothes, et cetera, et cetera. There's that. It's
so many different things.
yeah.
Going from inanimate to actual animate and sentient beings.
Yeah, so now we go to the world. It's pretty creative. It's pretty complicated. I mean, just all over the place. A whole bunch of order to everything. And I'm just using that as a kind of a,
No, I understand
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're trying to
yeah,
get to, but at the same time, like, I don't know, from more of what I've been seeing, it's not necessarily just that, well, I don't know if you've been reading more lately, like, particularly that for the other exoplanets, which are possible planets that might also be able to contain life. So, majority of life here, how it's been understood, is that with the necessity of use of water. However, there are environments where you don't necessarily need water, where you can use actually hydrogen sulfide as an energy source. In addition to that, you can actually find organisms without the actual like presence of the Earth, or not necessarily without the presence of the Earth itself. There's like a medium and range for the possible ability for life to exist. So, in many ways, I am very sorry to hear about your son. I am. There are many instances that have occurred, many of which I have questions about, particularly that is the likelihood of these events occurring. To me, the probability of those occurring are a lot less than a billion. A lot less than a billion.
okay.
The fact that there is or is not a God, in my own way, I'm very much logical, and I need proof. And no offense, I don't mean to incite anything else, but as far as actually proving whether or not God exists is, in many ways, to my point of view, irrelevant. And I know some of my friends themselves, they are Christian, and some of them have told me the only reason like I am good is because I know there's going to be a judgment. And in my own perspective, there shouldn't necessarily be a requirement of a higher being to promote, I guess, in the way you would put it, good behavior towards another human being.
Yeah. Well, I think there needs to be order. We had chaos.
It's an utter chaos all the time. The sun itself is utter chaos.
So,
but it's still like
it's kind of like
within its own
your
size.
parents to your children. You can let them run around and just go into utter chaos, or you incite the right and the wrong in them and hope that they follow in what you ask them to do. Right? I mean, that's how the family structure is, right? It's kind of it's anyway. I'm just giving you things. I'm not expecting you to sit and just grab this and run with it today. No, I just hope that I planted some seeds in your mind. Maybe you do a little bit more exploring. Maybe I don't know if you've ever read the Bible before. Maybe give it a read. Huh?
I read it extensively.
Have you? Good. All right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe have you ever gone to, I don't know what kind of church you've gone to. You got any good churches in the area?
I've gone to several.
Have you?
Yeah.
But there's sinners in those churches too.
No, there's sinners everywhere. That's the way you're going to put it. I just think
Right.
of them being human.
Oh yeah, sure. So a lot of people get turned off at certain churches, like have an experience that happens there or whatever. Like, oh, they must be all like that. But
That's about the individual.
yeah, sure. But anyway, I thank you for your time, and God bless you. All right.
Sorry about that.